All right, let's do this. Baby? Yeah? Can you just try not to bang or anything? Okay. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Today I'm going to do a diet update video for you guys because I figured it's long overdue and you probably noticed that there have been some changes in my diet. Yeah, I just want to talk to you guys about them today and answer some of your questions, and I want to get straight into it because it's probably going to be a long enough video as it is. So obviously I'm still vegan, of course, that's never gonna change. As you can see, my shirt here says, "You had me at vegan." Anyway, yeah, I still follow a fairly high carb, low fat vegan diet, but yes, within that, a lot of things have changed, so I just wanted to talk to you guys about that today. If you don't already know, when I first became vegan, I followed a pretty raw-based diet, very high in fruits, high carb, very low fat diet. I was having huge fruit meals for lunch and for breakfast, and then usually have a really big high carb cooked meal at night. Yeah, when I first came onto that diet, I felt absolutely amazing. I was coming from a non-vegan diet lifestyle to this abundant high carb, you know, vegan lifestyle. So yes, coming from that restrictive past into, you know, eating an abundance of amazing foods, I was loving it. I was feeling amazing. So it wasn't necessarily that I was feeling bad what I was eating before, it's just that my diet adjusted over time to where it is now, and I feel like I've kind of tweaked it and twisted it into a point where I feel the best eating what I'm eating currently at the moment. I've realized that, you know, I don't know everything, and I'm totally willing to change a lot more than I was before. I was kind of stuck in, you know, has to be the right way, and now I'm a lot more open-minded in terms of food. I 100% believe that everyone can thrive on a plant-based diet. We're all meant to thrive on a plant-based diet. That I can guarantee will never ever change because I know morally it's what is right, and I know that it's the best I've ever felt. So over the last 6 months I have slowly stopped eating as much fruit in my diet, and I don't want this to freak you guys out or anything. It's not that I'm against fruit, but there's been a few different things that have led us to the point where we aren't really eating as much fruit anymore. One of them being that we were traveling, so it was just a lot easier to eat a more whole foods, like starch-based diet. It's just much more convenient and more satisfying, we found. So we kind of were just going towards a more starch-based diet as we were traveling. The second reason, which I don't want to go into too much detail about because we will do a separate video on this. If you don't already know, my boyfriend Tim suffered with a lot of acne problems, and he kind of started getting these problems when he was eating a super high diet in fruit and refined sugar. He was kind of just smashing in, and I mean he was literally smashing in the fruit and the refined sugar to the point where I don't think it was good for him. I really don't. I think it did some sort of damage to his gut, and of course carbohydrates are my bae. They are like, hail my carbohydrates. They're definitely the most important macronutrient in terms of, you know, fueling our body. But how Tim was eating definitely did something. It disrupted something within him, and it caused some sort of damage. So we're still figuring it out, and yeah, we'll keep you guys updated. But he's doing really well, and I'm super proud of him. He's been through a lot with this, so yeah, we're really happy about where we're at the moment. I do think that was more of a combination of the refined sugars with the fruit that might have done the damage there. It's a bit of a touchy thing to talk about, so that's why we want to do a full video on that, so stay tuned for that. In terms of fruit now, I just kind of eat a more regular amount. Like, I'm still putting it on top of my oatmeal, I'll still have it as a snack, but in terms of meals, I'm not really having it for the time being. In terms of how I feel and the differences that I felt since changing my diet, there's a fair few things. Since changing to a more whole foods balanced vegan diet, and I'll get into that, I have definitely felt a difference in my energy levels. Before, when I was eating predominantly for fruit, I did have a lot of energy, but it would kind of come in bursts like this. So it would be like I'd have a lot of energy and then I kind of would crash, and I didn't really realize this until I reflected back on it, and also until I changed my diet because I didn't really know any different. So when I started eating a consistent starch-based diet, I found that my energy levels were a lot more like even, if that makes sense. I wasn't having those crashes, and I just had a better focus throughout the day, so that it wasn't like whoo, 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 whoo. And when I was eating a predominantly fruit-based diet, I wouldn't necessarily get hungry in the stomach. I would just get like tired, or like you know, I'd need more food for energy. Whereas now I actually let my body get hungry, if that makes sense. Like I'll actually get hungry in the stomach before I feel tired, if that makes sense. So I love that. I love having the sensation of hunger rather than the sensation of tired, you know, energy drop, if that makes sense. So my energy doesn't drop, I just get physically hungry, and then I know I need to eat. So that was pretty interesting, I feel. I feel overall a lot more calm, less anxious, and less like on edge, if that makes sense. These are just things that I've noticed over time, and it really did take me time to reflect and actually look back on these things to figure out how things were different, you know. So what I am eating is a more whole foods, plant-based, obviously, balanced diet. So in terms of balance, obviously it's still a very high carb diet. If you're eating whole food plant foods, it's going to be high carb because, you know, most vegetables and fruits, grains are all high carbohydrate. So that's amazing, of course. So yes, still lots of carbohydrates. However, I've added in more legumes, I guess you could call them proteins, and fats, but some more healthy fats. And I definitely feel that's made a big positive impact in my diet. At one point I was even scared of legumes because I was scared they were going to mess with my digestion, but no, legumes and beans are just, they're amazing. They honestly are so nutritious and delicious. And yeah, I have them in part of my daily diet now. Like, beans are just so good for you. I couldn't imagine not eating them, to be honest. Tofu is also something that I've reintroduced back into my diet. I love tofu. I'm just really enjoying it at the moment, therefore eating it. It is usually a part on my plate for lunch, and I just love it. I love the taste, I love the texture, I love the satiation that it gives me. In terms of fat, I mainly stick to avocados and seeds. I find that seeds do really well for me. I love the taste of them, like sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, and like tahini and stuff like that. So I really love seeds, and I love my avocado. So I usually have half to a whole avocado a day, and I've kind of been eating this, like introducing this into my diet over the last like 6 or 7 months. I had avocado before, but I had it more occasionally. And you guys have heard me talk about fat before, and how, you know, when I eat a lot of it, I would get like kind of a foggy head, or I would not feel so energized. And that's definitely true if I eat a lot of fat, or a really fatty meal, or a really oily meal, or something super high in nuts. I find that nuts still do that for me. But in terms of avocado, I feel really good after eating it, and I've actually found the more I kind of introduce it in, the less I get that kind of feeling. So yeah, I think your body definitely gets sensitive to things when you cut them out for a long period of time, and then when you reintroduce them back in. But that's all up to you and the person. I think everyone is different in terms of fat and how much they need, and it's something that you need to experiment with yourself, because definitely a lower fat diet works really well for some people, and others, you know, put the fat up a little bit higher. Especially girls, I feel like we do need more fat than the males. Other things that changed in my diet are things like bread. I used to not eat bread as much because I thought it was a processed food and it was too high in sodium, but I'm just come a lot more relaxed with those things, and just allowing myself to eat the things that I want. You know, I used to think that, bread was something I would get over and I was only craving it out of habits, but it is something I really enjoy. So I eat it a few times a week for breakfast, and I feel really good afterwards. And I'm just really listening to my body in the sense of that. I want to get back to listening to your body and talk about that, but first I want to talk about processed foods, because I want to differentiate between processed foods and refined foods, because refined foods is a thing that I've really just kind of cracked down on in my diet. Like I try to avoid as much as possible refined sugars, refined oil, and refined protein in terms of like protein powders. I don't add those kind of things into my diet. I don't think there's any need to add a refined, you know, macronutrient into your diet, like to the point where you're taking just that one thing out of a whole food, extracting it, and then adding it to your foods. I don't think that is healthy for you. I think it messes with many things like your hormones and your gut biome. But yeah, I think those things we need to differentiate between processed foods, because there's a difference between, you know, a food that you pick up that's got 100 million ingredients and you're like, what is this? Like, this is a heavily processed food. And the difference between that and rice noodles, you know, like I still eat things like rice noodles and, you know, bread that like a good bread that's nothing else in it except for, you know, wheat, yeast and salt and water. You know, I don't get the stuff that's full of preservatives or other weird ingredients that I don't know, or oil or anything like that. So I do still eat processed foods, but there's a huge difference between like processed and like, you know, rice noodles or bread or buckwheat soba noodles. Oh, and tofu as well. Tofu is a perfect example of that. Even though it's just soybeans, it is still technically a processed food, but I don't clarify it as. Yeah, so I think that's important to keep in mind when I say whole foods. You know, yeah, I'm not like some crazy person like not eating any processed foods, of course. I still go out for dinner like once a week and I'll eat a vegan meal that isn't, you know, so healthy, or it's a bit of junk food, because why not? I like that. I love showing you guys especially what you can eat as a vegan, and I think it's perfectly healthy to treat yourself. Some people think that's all I eat, and that's definitely not all I eat. You know, most 90% of my meals are at home and they're very healthy whole foods. In terms of my skin, I have seen a big improvement. I just got my period yesterday, so I've had like 1 or 2 breakouts, and I think I definitely still get that around the hormonal changes in my body. But in terms of my overall skin and complexion, I've noticed a big difference. I've always struggled with my skin since I was a teenager. Going vegan helped dramatically. I used to have really bad rosacea. I still do. It's kind of in my family, like rosacea type acne, where I don't necessarily get a pimple, but it might just be a red spot that kind of comes up and stays there. And I've actually realized that the less refined products that I eat, the less refined sugar and the less refined oil that I eat, the better my skin is. So I've been experimenting with that, with fruit and stuff like that, and I'll keep you guys updated. But so far I feel my skin is really starting I'm really starting to understand it. The one thing that I cannot stress enough that I've realized is just so important in terms of skin, energy, overall health, is vegetables. I feel like this isn't really talked about enough, the importance of vegetables and having a wide variety of them in your diet, and that's something I've really been working on, especially greens. I try to have more vegetables than I have anything else on the plate, so more vegetables than rice. Not only is this going to make your digestion amazing, but it's going to help with your energy, your skin, overall weight problems, anything. Vegetables are just the key. They're satisfying, they're nutritious, they're delicious. I'm talking about potatoes here as well, sweet potatoes, pumpkin, all of the above. Yeah, I guess like my overall message with this video is that, you know, you're you, and only you can really tweak your diet to what you need it to be. Only you can really listen to your body. And now when I say listen to your body, I feel like that's a really kind of touchy thing to say, because some people might be coming from, you know, crazy backgrounds where they've restricted themselves, or, you know, they've followed crazy diets for so long, and listening to your body can be hard because your body doesn't know, you know what I mean? And you don't know, you just might be falling back into old habits. It's like when I first became vegan, for the first month I was like really craving chicken or something, you know, because I had that in my diet for so long. So, you know, obviously I was going to crave it. It's just a habitual thing. I'm in a place now where I feel like I can really listen to my body, because I went through it all when I became vegan. I was smashing in the food. I was eating so much to the point where I was feeling sick. But I needed that. I really did, because I had come from such a restrictive past, and you know, mentally I needed to be able to eat as much as I could. And even though that probably wasn't the best thing for me to do, it was fine, because, you know, I needed to get through that phase to get to where I am now, where I can listen to my body and actually know when I'm full and what my body desires. Because beforehand I was so all over the place. When I would, you know, when I was maybe just craving a bit more healthy fats, I would go to the chocolate bar, because I didn't know, my body didn't know. That's where I think it's great to look up to other people and use them as inspiration and a guideline to follow what they're eating, to get you to that point. But once you start to understand your body better, that's when you can start to really listen to it yourself and be comfortable with, you know, changing it up a bit and tweaking your diet so that it works for you. And that's totally fine, you know what I mean? I now know my body to the point where I don't have to stuff it full to the point where I feel sick to be okay. You know, I'm so okay with food. There's no, you know, I don't ever consider restricting. I don't ever consider, you know, feeling guilty about eating something. I'm just so at a like good place with food. It's a really great feeling. It's a really great feeling to be there with your body and to have this kind of like relationship with food where it's all good, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like every girl pretty much has had a bad relationship with food at one point in their life. So yeah, you get there, trust me. All right, I think that's all I wanted to update you guys on. So the last thing I wanted to say is, yes, I have changed. Some things about me have changed, and I like that. I know that might not be the exact same thing that I've said before in the past, but that's the beauty of changing. That's the beauty of learning things and growing, and I hope that inspires you to, you know, look into your own diet and see what's making you feel great and how you can better it if it's not. I just really want others to thrive on this, so that's why I'm putting this out there and letting you know that it's totally okay to tweak your diet and listen to your body a little more and treat yourself when you want to, but nourish yourself 90% of the time. You know, really nourish yourself and look after your body and fuel it with whole food, plant-based foods. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and leave any questions you have down below, and I'll try and get back to them. And yeah, all right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.